How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today I'm here to tell you what nobody will tell you about moving to Denver, Colorado, and we're starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everetson. Listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons to moving to or living around Denver, Colorado, then this is the channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon popping up on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And listen, as much as I love trying to be a little creative here on camera, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with Denver's most talented realtors. So the number and email popping up on your screen, I'm always the person answering your phone calls, answering your texts, answering your emails, there when and if you need me. Now that we have that fun-filled stuff out of the way, let's get to what we're here for, and that is, what are the things nobody will tell you about moving to Denver, Colorado? Alright, so whether you have seen some of my other videos or not, I'll tell you, I like to keep things a little lighthearted while mixing in, obviously, some serious stuff. If you're thinking about moving to a new city, you want to know the truth. This video is going to be no different, but there are genuinely some things that I don't think you're going to see talked a lot about, and some things that are going to be a little more of a concern potentially, or something you're going to want to keep top of mind as compared to others. So we're going to start a little lighthearted, and that is the number one thing that nobody is going to tell you about moving to Denver, Colorado, is that not everybody is into hiking, camping, or skiing, or the outdoors for that point. But I want to emphasize, you do not have to worry that every single person you know in Denver suddenly decides that they want to go camping as soon as it gets sunny out. You do not have to worry that every single person you know in Denver, as soon as it starts snowing, drives up I-70 to go skiing. Yes, plenty of people do, and I'm sure you will be invited to do all of those things several times if you live here. You'll be invited to hike and camp and ski or snowboard and bike and kayak and all of those things, because Denver, yes, is an active city and you'll hear it all the time. But I, as a native, I'm probably going to lose street cred right now. I've only been skiing a handful of times in my life, probably because every time I do, it's a yard sale. Yeah, bad. Doesn't look good, not graceful, ungraceful, whatever the proper word is there. So don't get nervous that when you move here, you're all of a sudden going to need to be Paul Bunyan with your axe, able to light a fire with sticks and throw up a tent in 10 seconds. Not the case. Enjoy it at your own pace. You'll be fine. The second thing that nobody's going to tell you about moving to Denver, Colorado is that honestly, Denver's getting a little bougie. It's starting to feel itself a little bit. There are times where you go into a restaurant or you go into a bar, especially as you get into downtown Denver, as you get into some of the neighborhoods surrounding it, where you almost want to ask the bartender or the bar owner, I shouldn't say the bartender like they have control of it, but you want to ask the bar owner or the restaurant owner, do you think this is Vegas? Do you think you're in LA? Do we think we're in Chicago or Miami? You'll see some of the prices on menus at times. You'll see some of the craft cocktails and their price tag there. Denver used to be, and there are still bars that are like this, don't get me wrong, but used to be a place where, you know, there was a different bar to go to with drink specials, or there were, you know, restaurants where you could get a pretty decent meal at a pretty decent price. There are still places like that. But you'll also walk into some places that will blow your mind. I don't know, I went to a place the other night where they had an $18 cocktail and it was not an $18 cocktail venue. So just be aware that Denver, like I said, starting to feel itself. There are certain places that you will go into that will make you wonder if they think you're in a different city. The third thing that nobody is going to tell you about moving to Denver, Colorado is that locals, natives, such as myself, exclude myself from this though, they miss the old Denver. You're gonna hear that a lot. You're gonna hear people talk about what Denver was before it got so populated, back when traffic was lower and there weren't as many large skyscrapers and there weren't as many apartments, and you could leave town and get to the mountains in 15 minutes instead of the 25 it takes with traffic now. Now, I get it, and I think that there is something to be said for the nostalgia of growing up somewhere and seeing a city change. Many of us, you might have grown up in an area where, you know, there was a field by your house, and now that field is townhomes and condos and shops and all of that stuff. Denver has a lot of that vibe. Are the people very welcoming here? Yes, they are. Is it a huge melting pot anyway with people moving in from different states? Yes, it is. But you will hear a lot. There is a lot of nostalgia from locals in Denver who will say that Denver was a better city 10 to 15 years ago. And honestly, in some circumstances, they're right. Denver was a better city 10 to 15 years ago in certain ways, and it's certainly gotten better in other ways, including their home value, but we won't even talk about that in this video. Point number 4, and this is a reality check for anybody that's thinking about moving here and wants to live near downtown. My humble opinion, downtown Denver specifically has slipped the last few years. Might have even been starting before that, but as population grew, so did certain situations downtown. And I'll tell you, during COVID and during quarantine, as you saw in cities like Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington, some of these bigger cities, the homeless situation, some of the tent cities you saw got out of control. Not a lot of support from local government. I'm not going to knock, sometimes homeless people need resources, and I never want to come across in any of these videos as though I am heartless. But especially at the height of COVID, things were out of control. You would go downtown, you would see these big parks that are normally beautiful and the type of place you'd want to walk through with your coffee or even sit next to a tree, read a book, or do some work on your laptop, and they were filled with tents. That has improved. They've started to clear some of that out, a lot of it. I should say a lot of that out. But you're still going to see areas of downtown Denver in which there are, 4, 5, 6 tents. There's still areas where you'll pull up to a bus stop and it's a tarp because there's some people living underneath it. Again, I understand these people need somewhere to go. They need to be helped to some extent, especially some of them really need help. Denver hasn't done a lot with that in a while. Crime, not necessarily tied to the homeless population. I want to be very clear here, but there were some crime concerns. We had some clients and some friends who were really concerned about getting out at night in certain areas downtown. Now, I know that any city is going to have some concerns, but Denver, more than I had heard in the 15 years I have been back in the city and 44 years of life, that was a reoccurring theme that you kept hearing. 16th Street Mall, which is a great area downtown, known for its walkability and shops. It's an outdoor mall. Really got sketched for a while where people did not want to go down there. There were a lot of vagrants, a lot of people just kind of lurking around, and not enough, in my humble opinion, the opinion of some of my clients, not enough security. To Denver's credit, and to the local government's credit, they have taken some initiatives, a lot of initiatives for that matter, in that regard. They understand that they have to clean the city up. We started to lose some conventions. We started to lose people wanting to live downtown in some of these nice condo buildings that we have down there. So they're starting to work on that. But just understand, very long-winded, that downtown Denver has slipped a bit and it needs some work. The fifth thing that nobody is going to tell you, at least not hitting you between the eyes, is that affordability is becoming an issue in Denver. When Denver saw a big population boom, one of the big reasons was not just the quality of life, not just the blue skies and the mountains, but it was also because of the affordability. A lot of that is starting to shrink. Now, this is going to be dependent, I think, a lot on where you are coming from. If you're coming from a major city, people moving here from Chicago, New York, LA, Miami, they think it's the most affordable place that they've lived in years, and rightfully so. Whereas my folks from the Midwest, my folks from parts of the South, they come here, rents are higher, cost of living, groceries, gas, all of those things are higher. So affordability is becoming more and more of an issue, especially in regards to housing, not just in home prices, but also in rent. So whether you are moving here to buy or moving here to rent, just be aware that that may be a challenge that you need to be aware of. And if I just said you need to be aware that that's a challenge you may need to be aware of, not exactly how I meant to put it, but you get it. All right, so I started a little lighthearted, got a little deep. I'm gonna end with a little bit of lighthearted. Our sixth, our bonus thing that nobody is going to tell you about moving to Denver, Colorado, is that, especially natives, but I think anybody who lives in Colorado long enough, we become little bits of crybabies. And what I mean by that is, weather here is pretty good. It's sunny a lot, it's nice out, doesn't snow very often. But when it does snow, we pout a little bit. When it rains, it'll never rain here, and then it'll rain for 3 days and people are, it's raining again. The traffic is very rarely in a standstill. It's usually like a slow, gradual move. It's not bad when you think, if you've lived in some bigger cities, but we'll cry about that. We'll even cry about our sports teams. I mean, I know the Broncos haven't been good in 6 years, but I mean, 6 years ago we won a Super Bowl. That's a lot better than some cities and some teams would deal with, but we'll pout. So just be aware. I said aware again. Just understand that some of us locals, we get a little pity pouty going on. But listen, you know me. If you've watched any of these videos, you know I'm gonna shoot you straight. If you have any other questions or anything that you wonder what is the truth behind it, you know that is always a great opportunity to hit me up. The phone number, the email popping up on your screen. I'm always the person answering your phone calls, answering your texts, answering your emails. There, winning if you need me. So that wraps up what nobody will tell you about moving to Denver, Colorado. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. I am your host, Jimmy Everett. Until I see you next time, peace.